Welcome everyone to Sovereign AF episode 9. I'm your host, Regina Cornelio, and we have a special guest tonight. Her name's Nicole. We're going to talk about homeopathy, homeopathic remedies, and also how can you help your family prepare for emergencies at home? What should you have at home to be prepared? So Nicole, I honestly don't even remember how we connected, but we're in a lot of like-minded groups and circles. Maybe we can figure out where we exactly connected, but she is a former registered nurse turned holistic health coach and homeopath. She is a mom of 7 and she homeschools. So basically she's superwoman. And I'm going to let her go a little deeper into her path and her journey. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to start off by saying I'm not superwoman. We're all superwomen. I think all women are amazing and we're all superwomen. So, um my story is kind of long, but I'm going to try to shorten it up. But I like you said, I started out as a registered nurse. Um I always wanted to become a nurse and that was my path. That's what I wanted to do. I already had 3 children when I first started going to nursing school. But one of the things that I noticed when I first got into nursing school was that we were putting a band-aid on our issues and I didn't really love that. And so my journey also started down the holistic route because I became really sick. I spent 20 years being undiagnosed with thyroid conditions. So I spent all of my 20s going from doctor to doctor, being really sick myself and being told all kinds of different things like, I needed to exercise, I needed to sleep, better, I needed to eat better, all the things that people are told. And I even went to the ER once because I felt like something was stuck in my throat. And they told me I needed to chew my food better. And that later was
Oh my
diagnosed
goodness.
yeah, it's crazy, right? But that was later diagnosed as a thyroid nodule. So I was let down by conventional medicine myself, and holistic medicine is what helped me. Um, and 6 months after being diagnosed with hypothyroid and being on medications, conventional medications at first, I was pregnant with my 4th son, and he ended up being vaccine injured. So just kind of,
Oh,
the yeah, yeah.
okay. So we don't say the V word.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry.
We can say jab. I like to say juice. Um, be creative.
Yeah,
We're pretty aware of what you mean, but yeah, juice or
got you.
jab.
Got you. I totally get it. Yeah. All right. So, but he was just injured in general, right? And so that kind of just led me even further down the holistic path because I was trying to heal myself, I was trying to heal my son. And then I became a nurse. And right when I got there, I didn't like the system, right? So I worked in long-term care, I worked with the elderly, and I noticed, a lot of injuries with them. I noticed a lot of adverse reactions from medications, and I just wasn't really liking what I was seeing, and my voice wasn't being heard. So I went back to school. I became a holistic registered nurse, and then I became a nurse health coach, and experienced all different holistic modalities like auricular therapy, Reiki, herbals, essential oils, all those things, colloidal silver, manuka honey, right? All the holistic things. And I had a lot of success with those things. But the one thing that was the best thing for me and for my family was when I learned about homeopathy. And so I eventually ended up going to school to become a homeopath as well. I teach classes about homeopathy and how it can empower you and your family to take charge of your health. So that's like really a lot what we're going to be talking about tonight is homeopathy. So that's kind of just like the very, short version of my history, but that's where I'm at right now is that's my focus is homeopathy.
I love it. I love how you had the courage to say, hey, there's something not right here. That's got to be uncomfortable when most people aren't questioning the system, right? And
Yeah.
something's not right inside. And so I commend you for standing up and saying, I can't do this anymore. That must have been scary because that's your job and you went to school a
Yeah.
long time to be an RN and then to walk away. That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, yeah, that was huge. So I definitely stayed in the system for a long time. Like I said, right when I got into it, I wasn't thrilled with what was happening, but I worked in long-term care. I worked with the elderly. I tried to advocate for them. I was told multiple times by doctors that I was just a nurse, that I didn't know what I was talking about, or that other doctors, were saying it was this, so it couldn't be a reaction. So I was silenced a lot. And but I stayed with it anyway because my heart and my passion was there. But in January 2020, I was home, because I had my seventh child. As you mentioned, I have seven children. So I was home with my seventh child, and then I won't even say the word because I don't know if I could say this word either, but
C
right, the
word.
hit, right? Not the other C, but the C
Oh
word
my
hit
goodness.
in 2020. And where I worked in long-term care, we were the most affected, right?
Mm,
So we were, the elderly were being isolated. The nurses did not have the proper PPE, which is the masks and the gloves and the gowns and all the things that when there's an infection we should be provided with. So my friends, they weren't getting what they needed from the CDC. And so I had a friend that actually was gonna buy a mask off of, eBay for, like, over $100, and she was gonna spray it with Lysol to keep it clean because it was her one mask that she had because she was so afraid of the virus, and I was like,
mm.
"I'm more worried about that Lysol in your
Yeah.
lungs than I'm worried about
Yeah.
this virus right now." So, I was seeing a lot of this. The CDC was telling some of my, director of nursing friends to use the mask the whole shift from patient to patient. And then at the end of the shift, put it in a brown paper bag, put it in your med cart, and then reuse it for up to 3 shifts. So my nursing brain was like, How is this, stopping the spread of infection? This doesn't make sense." So things weren't adding up to me. And I said to my husband, I was like, listen, the system was already broken and it's even more broken now, and I can't go back. I can't do this. I have to be able to help people from the outside in because I can no longer help them from the inside out. So that's what I did. So it was hard, but I did it.
Mm. And I just want to remind our Facebook viewers, you can ask questions throughout. Someone said homeschooling mom of 7. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you tell them the age ranges. There's a wide range too.
Yeah, yeah. So my oldest is 25 and my youngest is 3. So we have a 3, 5, 7, 10, 17, 19, and 25-year-old. So yeah, we have them all over this age group.
Wow. I don't know how you have time to run a business or anything that you do. Insane. But
A lot. It's
so
definitely spicy.
let's dive into homeopathy and then I want to talk about and this I just want to let the viewers know this might be an episode you might want to have a notepad and pen because I
Yeah.
imagine you're going to have probably some tips and we're going to talk about what home remedies people should have on hand for emergencies, right? What are some good remedies for common things that may pop up so you can learn to heal at home. And so you may want to grab a notepad, pen. I always say a snack and a drink. And what is homeopathy?
Yeah. So that's the question, right? That's the $1,000,000 question there because a lot of people don't actually know what homeopathy is, right? When I started learning about it, I thought that it was just, another holistic remedies, right? And this is just natural remedies. It's an interchangeable word, but it's actually its own system of medicine. So homeopathy is the medicine that was used in the hospitals until the 1940s, before I could probably say big pharma, right?
Yeah.
Big pharma kicked them out, right? So
Mm.
medical doctors were actually trained homeopaths as well as medical doctors, and they were using homeopathy in conjunction with conventional medicine and as the mainstream medicine But then the pharmaceutical companies took over the medical schools, they took over the hospitals, and they started to phase out homeopathy. Why
Mhm.
would that happen? Because homeopathy works and it's inexpensive, right? So if
Cures don't make anybody any money, right?
exactly, exactly. So people were healing, right? We weren't keeping people sick. And so we had to get rid of that. We had to push it out. So they did a really good job of making sure that people don't know what homeopathy is. But I'm going to give you guys an example of what it is because that's the best way I know how to explain it. So homeopathy is made from natural substances. And an example I like to use, Regina, I'm going to use you kind of like as my person to just kind of bounce it
Yeah.
off, and I'm going to ask you questions. Okay. So, um, homeopathy is used based off of the theory of like cures like, right? So, what does that mean? So, if you cut into an onion, what happens
You
to
start to
most?
cry.
Yeah, right.
There's a
You're
lot of layers. Yeah.
yeah, like you
Start to
start.
tear up.
Yeah, yeah, your eyes get red, they start tearing, right? They might be itchy, your nose might run, right? Can you
Mhm.
think of a medical condition that has similar symptoms like that, where your eyes start running and tearing, your nose might run, itchy, watery eyes?
Definitely allergies.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
even common colds. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a homeopathic remedy called Allium cepa, right? They're all Latin names. And all that is a red onion.
Mhm.
So when you give somebody Allium cepa, it can actually stop those symptoms in a sick person. So the symptoms that the red onion would normally cause in a healthy person, it actually stops in a sick person. So you can give this remedy for allergies, like you said, for a cold, if there's an itchy, watery eyes, it's the same thing. Another example of that I really love to share with people because I think that this just shows how powerful homeopathy is, and it's one of my favorites, is apis. So apis is made from honeybee venom. And what happens
Oh.
when you get yeah, right? So what happens
Mhm.
when you get stung by a bee?
So I never knew this before, but apparently there's um that's a therapy in itself. I want to actually do an episode on that. I didn't know that, but obviously it hurts. I
It's
mean, you're like, ouch, the
concept,
bee stings you, but not realizing that there's actual like healing in that venom, which is really
and
interesting.
that's the same concept of how homeopathy works. That's how that heals you, right? So when you get stung by a bee, it hurts. There might be some redness, some swelling. Some people get hives, right? And some people even have anaphylaxis, which means they could stop breathing, right? So apis can actually stop all of those symptoms. So if somebody is experiencing an allergic reaction, if somebody is experiencing hives, if someone's even experiencing anaphylaxis, apis can actually stop those symptoms. And I've seen it happen twice in my life. The first time was my niece. She was given milk of magnesia. She was constipated. She was only maybe like 4 years old at the time. And the pediatrician said, "Hey, give her some milk of mag, she'll be fine." Well, she reacted to it. So she started developing hives, and my brother called me up and he's like, "I don't know what to do. We've never had an allergic reaction before. We don't have any Benadryl in the house. What do I do?" And I told him, I said, "Listen, I have Benadryl on hand, I have EpiPens on hand, but I also have this remedy." I said, "Put her in the car, I'll come meet you." And eventually we met, and I brought everything with me and I showed him how to use the EpiPen. I showed him what the Benadryl was, but I gave my niece this remedy. And by the time she got to me, she was itching her elbow. She had hives going up to her face and she was kind of like scratching at her throat. And I gave her one dose of Apis and it immediately stopped. So I sent my brother home with the remedies and with the EpiPens and with the Benadryl, and I'm like, "You're not gonna need all that other stuff, but here it is just in case, and give her another dose if you need to." And by the time he got home, she was completely fine. He never needed to give her anything else. The
Oh,
second time
wow.
I saw it happen, I was sharing this story at a vendor event at a workshop, and I shared the story, And about a half an hour later, the woman comes to my table and she says, I know we just met, but my niece is having an allergic reaction. Can you help us? And I was like, of course. So I run over the little girl, her eye was swollen. She had a hive on her cheek. She was itching. We gave her 1 dose of Apis and it immediately stopped. And then we all cried because it was just like, it was
Wow.
just amazing, you know?
Magical.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep up with the chat
Okay.
while we're chatting.
Lots of
Someone's
questions in the
so
chat.
one question I see here by Judy, explain why less is more in the sugar pills, please. Oh, and now when someone just commented, so I can't see it. She has a Hahnemann's kit or something. Do you know what that
So
is?
yeah, so Hahnemann is like the father
Hahnemann.
of homeopathy. So it's
Okay.
just it's a version of, it's a brand of homeopathy. Um, and so yeah, that's it. So we're giving minute doses, right? So, some of these remedies can actually be considered toxic, right? So Apis is bee venom, right? That's not something we would want to have. Arsenicum is another one. It's made from arsenic, right? So you would think, oh my gosh, that's toxic. That's not what I want to have. But when it's in homeopathic form, it's diluted down. And the more diluted it is, the less toxic it becomes and the more curative it becomes. And the reason for that is that same theory of like cures like, right? So what it can do to a healthy person, when the person's sick and they're feeling those symptoms, it's going to negate those symptoms. And
Mhm.
it, I mean, you said the word before. I think you said it's like magic, right? And
Yeah.
that's literally how it feels. I've been doing this for years. I see it over and over. I see people heal. And
Mhm.
every time it happens, I'm like, this stuff is just magical. Like, there's just nothing else in the world like this.
So, okay, couple questions here, and then I have a question, and then we'll move into what do people need? How do they get it? What should we have at home? Okay, so someone said, what about asthma? Is there something good for that?
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely lots of remedies for asthma. Asthma's a chronic issue, so chronic issues are a little harder to just throw out like one remedy. There's lots of different remedy choices. So for something like asthma, you would want to be educated about homeopathy or you'd want to work, with a homeopath for something like that. But some remedies to look into if you were gonna, do your own research. Arsenicum's a really, good asthma remedy as well as Calibic. So those are some remedies that I would look into, but really suggest working with somebody.
And someone said, where do you get Apis?
So there's homeopathic manufacturers. So a couple of trusted manufacturers that you can order from. There's Helios in the UK, which it's all the way in the UK. So I carry some of their kits and things like that. So that way I make it easier for people in the US to
Mhm.
have access to that. Boiron is another remedy, homeopathic pharmacy that you guys might be familiar with, like Arnica, right? They have like Arnica and things like that.
How do you
Chamomile.
spell it? Voiron?
Yeah, it's Boiron.
Okay. RON?
Yes. Yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, most people, if you've
Yeah.
seen homeopathy, that's what you've seen. You
Yeah.
usually see that in like the natural food stores, Whole Foods
Hmm.
carries it, but that's another topic maybe we'll touch on later. But they're
Oh, yes. Not a big fan of them anymore.
yeah, yeah, and they're actually pulling right now. They're pulling their homeopathic products.
Not a
Um,
surprise.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, so Boiron is usually Vitamin Shop carries them. Um,
Mm.
again, Amazon has some stuff, but I don't recommend buying from them. I suggest supporting like your natural food stores or directly from
Local.
pathic pharmacy. So somebody mentioned earlier having a Hahnemann kit.
Okay.
There's a manufacturer called Hahnemann Pharmacies. So that's another one. Highlands. Some people are familiar with Highlands because they use like the Highlands teething tablets for their kids.
Taking notes.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yes.
I'm taking notes. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at the chat. I'm
No,
taking
yeah.
notes. I'm sorry.
No, take them. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of
Yeah.
information, but I feel like people need to know this information because
Mhm.
this is the medicine that, I mean, I believe in God, right? So
Mhm.
I think that this is the medicine that God provided us with to heal ourselves. And I'll touch on that really quickly too, because I think this is super important. With conventional medicine, we put a Band-Aid on things, right? You're sick and you put a Band-Aid on things and you're not really getting better, you're suppressing the condition, right?
Mhm.
Holistic medicine, what I found, and don't get me wrong, holistic medicine saved my life when I was sicker than anything and no conventional doctor would help me. Holistic doctors helped me. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, 10 years later, I was taking 9,000 supplements and I was paying out of pocket to see holistic doctors, and I still had all my same conditions. And I still had to take a thyroid medicine, which is still a pharmaceutical medication, even though it's the natural version, right?
Mhm.
So holistic medicine, in a sense, kind of puts a Band-Aid on things too. It's just a better version Band-Aid, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So homeopathy, what homeopathy does is it corrects the imbalance that's in your body. So we were made to heal, right? We're meant to heal on our own. But we have an imbalance somewhere because of all the toxins that we've been bombarded with, right? All the chemicals we're exposed to, all the things, right? So we have an imbalance. So our body is just struggling a little bit. Homeopathy corrects that imbalance so that your body can do what it was meant to do, which is to heal. It's as simple as that. So you don't have to take homeopathy for the rest of your life. You can actually
That's real healing,
right.
right? And I've gone to healers that say, I teach you to heal, so you don't need me. That's
Right,
what I want to hear. I don't want to sign up for someone I've got to go to forever. I
right,
love
right.
that. I love
Yeah,
that. So someone said, and for my people that are watching the Facebook group live, I try to get to as many questions as I can while we're still flowing, right? And I always miss some, and then the questions go quick, and then I can only see so many on my screen. But someone did ask, what about inflammation? And then at the end, we'll spell the suppliers because I don't know how to spell them either. But someone said, can you spell the suppliers? At the end, we'll do that. Um, yeah. So
yeah,
any suggestions for inflammation? I'm actually interested in that one too.
yeah. So, um, I'm going to give you guys a remedy for it, but I want to start by saying this, that again, holistic medicine puts these diagnoses in our head, right? So inflammation, adrenal fatigue, um, mold illness, Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr virus, like all these things, right? They're diagnoses, but they're also like, what does that mean to you? Because I can have inflammation and that might mean that I'm really tired, and for you it might mean pain, right? Or um if you have mold illness, it might look like brain fog for you, but it might be chronic fatigue for me, right? So there's these spectrum of holistic diagnoses that in homeopathy they don't really tell us exactly what's the problem, right? In homeopathy, we need to know what the symptom is, right? We need to know what is inflammation to you, right?
Mm.
Is it pain? Are you actually swelling, right? Is it fatigue? What's inflammation to you? But that said, that aside, ferrum phos, this is a cell salt, a homeopathic cell salt, ferr phos, it's abbreviated FERRPHOS, is usually really good for inflammation or the beginning of colds and illness.
That's interesting. So let me just kind of recap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hi, Hillary. It's okay if you're late. So you treat like for like. So inflammation can show up for me differently than it does for someone else. Like I might have symptoms in a certain body part or present itself in a different way than someone else has inflammation in their body, so that you might treat it differently.
Right, right. Because the
Yeah.
way homeopathy works, we're looking at the symptoms, right? And that was something that kind of got me at first because I was like, oh, well, then aren't we just treating the symptoms? Right. But that's
Mhm,
not what we do. What we do is we use the symptoms to know what remedy to choose to help heal. So
mhm,
we're using those symptoms that are like bothersome, right? I always tell people, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, it sucks when you have like a skin condition or your hair's falling out or you're inflamed and your face is puffy or whatever your symptom is. It's annoying. But we're the lucky ones that have those symptoms when we know homeopathy, because that's our body's smoke alarm signal telling us that there's a problem. Right? That's the smoke alarm in the body saying, "Hey, hi, there's a problem here and you need to fix it." Right?
mhm,
But with holistic medicine, we take a stab at the dark. We're like, "Well, maybe it's this. Well, maybe it's that. Well, maybe it's this." And we try
mhm,
all these different things. And for some people with inflammation or mold or Lyme, the remedies work. Not homeopathy, but other, herbs or different diets, right? Have you seen that? Like, have you seen that, like,
yeah,
for one person with Lyme disease does this protocol and it works for them, but doesn't work for the next person.
mhm.
Why?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, um, and inconsistencies um but homeopathy kinda reminds me of, I've heard that if you consume, like, let's say you have an issue with your liver.
Mhm.
I've heard that if you consume, like, a healthy liver of an animal or liver pills of healthy animal, that's what it kinda reminds me of, like for like.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same concept of that, it's the same concept of, now they say with allergies, right, with, like, food allergies, you introduce, like, small amounts, right? It's the same concept. It's kinda the same concept of where, the V's started with, right? The jabs started with,
Mm,
right?
mm.
That's the same concept that it started with, right? Because it's just that like cures like concept. I know um a beekeeper, a local beekeeper, and she would get stung and she would take Apis and she would keep getting stung and take Apis. And each time her reactions got less and less, right? Because it's that repeated exposure to it.
I have a friend who's a beekeeper. She's coming on in a couple weeks, but we're talking about something else, but I'm excited to talk about bees.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So someone just said, "I love her." I don't know
Oh,
if you're able to see the chat, so I'll just try to stay on top of it, and I try to answer questions as long as it's not, like, completely off topic so that we can kinda keep flowing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so, okay, I had a question. How did you become a homeopath, and what is that process like?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a different type of homeopath that's kind of newer, so I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the difference really quickly. So I started learning about homeopathy from Joette Calabrese. So she is a classical homeopath, right? She was a classical homeopath for 15 years. And then, she went to India and she started studying with these doctors. They were medical doctors, but they were also homeopaths. And they developed these protocols, these homeopathic protocols based off of data. So in India, people are very sick, right? And they were seeing like thousands of patients a day. Um, and so they were able to develop these homeopathic protocols. And Joette would go to India each year and she would learn from them for like 8 years in a row. She would go and she came back to the United States and she created curriculum, right? She wanted to put this in the hands of mothers, right? Because she knew, and when I say the word mothers, I always tell people this, when I say the word mothers, I mean women in general, right? I don't care if you have kids or not, we're all mothers because we are
Mm,
the caregivers, right? We're the ones that take care of our kids, our pets, our spouses, our family members. Like, we're the ones that fix it, right? We fix people. Men usually fix, I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but men usually
mm,
fix like stuff and we fix the people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So she was very smart. She came back and she was like, we're going to put this in the hands of mothers because mothers are going to be the ones to heal people. Right? So that's what she did. So that's how I found out about homeopathy. I took one of her courses. I immediately fell in love and then I started teaching. I started teaching the courses to other people. I taught for years. And then she created a practical homeopath program. And I was like, I need to become a homeopath. I need to do this. In the meantime, I was taking cases, I was helping people, I was helping my family, my friends, my clients, um, continuing to teach. And we mentioned before that I have 7 kids. I have, my younger kids have never had a Tylenol, they've never had an antibiotic, they've never had
Wow. That's awesome.
yeah, like any conventional medicine because this is all we use. Homeopathy is the medicine that we use.
Okay, I have a question now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I I am 100% with that. I take Tylenol if I absolutely have to. Like when I had surgery 3.5 weeks ago, I made it through with just Tylenol.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no pain meds, but I had to take Tylenol. Um, so I'm proud of that. But if someone's in pain, what is a homeopathic remedy? So this is something I've come into recently when I'm like, darn it, I really don't want to take Tylenol,
yeah.
but I'm having a lot of pain with something. And so what is a better route for that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So there's a lot of homeopathic pain remedies, but our main go-to one is arnica. Um,
Oh, okay.
usually if you're having like a surgery, arnica 200 and the 200th potency is usually your go-to. There's
Mm.
different potencies, but that's usually the best one. But I mean, if you're having nerve pain, hypericum's a really good remedy. If you're having joint pain, Russ tox is a really good remedy. So we have pain covered, you know. You definitely don't want anyone suffering and in pain. So we have so many remedy choices for pain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get through that curriculum, the homeopath, and actually become a homeopath?
Yeah. So classical homeopaths, their schooling's a little bit longer. It's usually 5 years. Joette's program, the way she made it was very intense. So it was only a year-long program. But I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything or lacking because it was a very rigorous and in-depth program. And then she offers a second year program to that as well. So I was able to complete it in a year. Um, and like I said, I feel like I learned so much and I feel well equipped. I was already taking cases before and I was already teaching for so long that I felt pretty confident, but man, her school is so rigorous. You learn the history of homeopathy, you learn physiology, you learn her different courses that she has. You learn materia medica study, which a materia medica, because that sounds really foreign probably to you guys, but this is like one of them if anyone wants to like dig deep and learn because I'm a book nerd. This is
Mm.
Robin Murphy's fourth edition materia medica. And this basically lists like all the homeopathic remedies and information about them. And then there's a repertory, um, another one, the repertory. And this is like the world's like lists of suffering, right? All of the human history suffering is in this book. And so you look up a symptom and then it will tell you a list of remedies that you can take. And then you go to the materia medica and try to figure it out what would best suit you. That's the classical way, or you could learn from Joette or me, because I teach classes as well. And that's the practical way. And we give you protocols. So we kind of make it a little easier to understand and learn. And this is really important because that's why, you guys can learn, right? That's why like anybody can learn, anybody at home can learn. And for me, that's huge because my goal and my passion is empowering families to take charge of their health. And that's because of my history of being let down by conventional medicine. So,
I love it. So we've got a few questions, and then I want to get to your recommendations for emergency preparedness. So menstrual pain remedy, is that the arnica or some?
arnica, arnica works for most people, but another one that I really love is mag phos, MAGPHOS, mag phos in a 30C. That if you mix a dose in water and take sips on the warm water, it can really help with cramps. It can help with menstrual cramps, but it also, if anyone gets ovarian cysts, we had really great success with ovarian cysts. If you've ever had them, you know that they're like horrific pain, pretty close to childbirth type pain. But this remedy literally just abates it. It's really, really great remedy.
Okay, someone asked, can you take something like arnica for a headache if you're currently taking an anticoagulant?
Yeah, yeah. So the thing with arnica that people worry about, and I think that's where this person is going with, is
Mm.
the blood issues, right? Because arnica can thin the blood. If you take too much arnica, it can thin the blood, right? But remember when I said that homeopathy corrects the imbalance in the body, right? So arnica is a perfect example of that. So arnica can not only thin the blood when it's needed, but then it can also break up blood clots, or clot the blood. So either one that's needed, either way that you need to go with your blood, the remedy is going to help correct that imbalance so that your body can do what it was meant to do, right? So yes, you can take remedies when on medications, right? Homeopathic remedies do not interfere with pharmaceutical medications, right? There's no side effects to homeopathy. Um, so, but you would need to have a reason to take a remedy, right? So if you had a headache, you could take arnica, but let's say you took arnica and you didn't have a reason, or you didn't have a symptom, you didn't have a headache, and you were just taking arnica, that's when you would worry about thinning the blood, if that's where you're going with that. I think that's where she was going.
Okay. Yes. I think the worry is thinning the blood.
Yeah.
Couple other questions, and then I'm going to pause the question so we can just get into the emergency preparedness, and then we're going to come back, and we're also going to hang for a few minutes after the recording for the Facebook group. So, okay. Hillary asked, chronic neuropathy, any suggestions for nerve pain?
Nerve pain is always like hands down hypericum. Hypericum, usually in a 200, can really help with all types of nerve pain.
Yeah. And someone asked, what's the best source to get arnica
So really, it's just you're going to be looking at those homeopathic manufacturers that I
that you
mentioned,
mentioned?
and at the end we can go
We'll
over
list
all.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think, do you do one-on-one sessions?
I do. I do
Okay.
consultations. I do one-on-one sessions, and then I also teach classes that kind of empowers you with all of this information too. And my classes are like super affordable because I'm so passionate about getting
Mm,
this medicine back out there to people. So I make my classes and even my consultations, they're really affordable because I became a nurse to help people. So that's all I'm trying to do.
I love that. And someone, Phoebe, it's my mom. Her name's Nancy, but she named her Facebook after one of her dogs who passed away. So Nancy, aka Phoebe, wants to know, did I hear that correctly? There are no side effects to homeopathic remedies. That's what I heard too.
That's
Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. There's
Okay.
no side effects. I mean,
Awesome.
you have to have an understanding of the remedies and you have to be using them properly, but in themselves, there's no side effects to them.
Awesome. All right. So let's dive into emergency preparedness. What would you recommend for families in times like now when, we don't act out of fear, but I do recommend taking some steps just to be prepared for anything in today's reality. So, what are some good things to have on hand just for emergencies?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great question. And I love that you said not to act out of fear, because that's my biggest thing too. And I know you and I connected over that too, but I think that, fear in itself would kill people. That's what's going to kill
Mm,
people is
yeah.
fear itself. But you do want to be smart, you do want to be educated, and you do want to be a little bit prepared for anything, right? And let's face it, they can throw anything at us these days. I mean, we've
Mm,
been hit with all kinds of things, right? Um, so it's hard to say like for everything, be prepared for everything. So I'm going to say number one is to be educated, right? You definitely need to have the education, to know what you're doing in an emergency situation, because again, and it ties back to that fear and that panic, when we don't know what we're doing, that's when we panic and that's when we give in, right? And this isn't fear-based, but like you said before, right? Like you were in pain recently and you were like, I needed to take the Tylenol, right? But had you known about homeopathy, had you known there was a solution, you could have been like, all right, I have arnica on hand, I'm ready,
yeah.
right? So that's the education piece of it, and then actually having the tools to go with it.
Mhm.
So for people just starting out with homeopathy, there's a lot of remedies and there's a lot to know. So the education is important. So again, I teach classes that I can go more in depth with all that. But to give you guys, remedies or a starting place, I like there's multiple types of homeopathic kits, but I like the Helios homeopathic kits because they're compact. They give you a little bit of a lot of different things. And they come with a cute little booklet, and the booklet tells you exactly what to take for what ailment. So the ailments are listed in alphabetical order, and then it will tell you exactly what remedy to take, and it's going to be in your kit. So those I have one like to show you guys, like they're really compact. So they like fit in your, pocketbook or whatever bag. And then like these are all the little pellets. So homeopathy is like sugar pellets for those that don't know. They're like little sugar pellets. And you just, Helios brand is one pellet is a dose, and you just pop it under your tongue and let it dissolve and watch the magic happen. So this is like a basic kit, comes with a little booklet, and it tells you exactly, what to do. So I suggest this kit for people to have on hand when they're just learning about it, because this is a really great starting place. Um, and then they have a first aid kit. So this one, the basic one's more for like colds and flus, ear infections, strep throat, stomach bugs, headaches, general pain, those types of things. And then the first aid kit is a little bit higher potency, same exact layout, but there's less remedies, higher potency. This kit can cover things like broken bones, brain bleeds, head injuries,
Oh.
anaphylaxis, like we talked about before, sprains,
Mhm.
surgical pain, all of those things. So this is a this though these two are like my top two kits that I recommend people to purchase, because these two kits will have you prepared for most things.
Any idea of what those kits run you? Are they both from the UK?
They are both from the UK, but I carry them on my website.
Oh,
And
okay.
I keep prices lower than Amazon.
Mm,
Because Amazon likes to upcharge everything on people, and I don't like to do that to people, so I try to keep the prices low enough so they're affordable. um so this kit
awesome.
is $70, and then this one is 50. So for under 200
Mm,
bucks you can have like two kits that would really give you a good starting, um a baseline in homeopathy.
that's awesome. I'm excited to stock up.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely, definitely.
This is
Definitely.
making me want to be a homeopath now.
Seriously, you're gonna like I hope you take my classes, because when people do, they fall in love. Like there's so much to learn about it, and it's so empowering, and it helps with so many conditions that
Mm,
that's what happens. People like Heather Strickland's commenting a lot. She was one of my students, and she just kept coming back to my classes and taking them. And now she's in the program that I just took, that I graduated from. So now she's in there now. She's becoming a homeopath. Lots of my students end up becoming
mm,
homeopaths. So it's addicting because it's just so, you said it before, it's so magical. It's just, there's nothing else like this. You
that's
know,
really cool.
I don't know any holistic modality that can stop an allergic reaction,
Mhm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know any modality that can do that.
Yeah.
That's empowering.
And okay, so one question that's in there, how can a pill fix a broken bone?
So again, it's bringing balance into the body. So the body is what's doing the healing, right? It's not
Mm,
the pill that's fixing the bone. Your body is healing from that bone. However, you do need to make sure that the broken bone is reset before you start taking the remedies, right? So that's a specific condition that you would definitely need help with, right? And so I probably should have started that. I probably should have started this talk with that, but usually what I tell people is that I'm not a medical doctor. This is not to replace, the medical care. This is to use in conjunction with medical care, or if you're in a situation where you don't have medical care, right? We're talking emergency medicine. If you can't get to a doctor, right? You at least have something that can help you with the pain for a broken bone before you can get to the doctor to reset that broken bone. So, and that's why it was important for me to mention that there's no interactions with conventional medicine, because a lot of people are just stepping into this holistic journey and they might be on medications, right? So this
mhm.
is not meant to get you to jump off of your medications, right? If you're on medications, if you're working with a medical doctor, you want to stay working with them, but this can help you, start to heal actually, instead of have the band-aid.
Do you think it can replace um Western medicine, I guess, or somewhat?
I do. I've seen I've s- I've seen it replace, So again, I'm not telling people to jump off of their medications,
Right.
but you can absolutely, with the help of a homeopath and a doctor, you can absolutely come off of medications, you can absolutely heal. We were not meant to we were not meant to take medications for the rest of our life. And again, even holistic medicine, we were not meant to take supplements for the rest of our life, right? We should be able to get those things from food,
We
right?
should.
But we're not. But
Keyword should.
right, right.
And now, unfortunately, with like the soil and the air, and
Yeah. And I want
regardless of all the stuff they're putting in it, but yeah.
yeah, and I want to say this is like kind of a side topic that we talked about, but it's homeopathy related because I found a way. But you when you and I spoke, we talked a little bit about parasites. And so
Mm,
I want to touch on that really quickly too, because that's another reason why we're so sick, right?
mhm.
Parasites, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, a lot of people think that we don't have parasites because we don't live in a third world country. But that's not true. We're exposed to them way more than we think. And when we're healthy, we should be able to detox them and not even notice them. But the problem is we're so sick right now. Our generation is so sick. And what these parasites do is they hold on to heavy metals, they hold on to toxins, they hold on to viruses, they hold on to mold, right? They hold on to all these things that make us sick. So what happens is people try to heal from Lyme disease, from Epstein-Barr virus, from heavy metal toxicity, but they can't heal because they have these parasites protecting them like this. So you're
Mhm.
trying to detox from all the crap, but you're not doing a parasite detox, and the parasites are holding on to it and you're not getting better. And that's also robbing us of our nutrients too, right? 'Cause parasites do that. So one of the things that I also do is homeopathy detox with parasites. And that's super powerful because, again, remember when I talked about how homeopathy corrects the imbalance in the body? So what we're doing, a lot of people don't want to do a parasite detox because they're worried about the die-off symptoms or the crappy feelings they're
Mm.
going to feel. We don't
Yeah,
feel it. Yeah. So what we do is we correct the imbalance in the body so that the parasites can't live there anymore, and our body naturally detoxes them and we get better.
that's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna dive deep into parasites in the second week of November. And but I love hearing the homeopathic side and that you have this resource for
Yeah.
people. That's awesome. And we were talking about parasites as well, and we're gonna go deep in a couple weeks, but it's parasites are more than just physical. There's energetics to it.
Yeah.
It affects your emotions.
100%.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into all of that and how it really I didn't realize how much it can affect you. And I had
Yeah.
noticed I was grinding my teeth at night, and that's a sign of
Good.
parasites. And I've been boosting my immune system because I just had surgery, and unfortunately they gave me antibiotics, and I really felt like I couldn't avoid it. I was doing nasal surgery, and
Yeah.
ugh, I really didn't want the antibiotics, but, kind of felt like I was in a situation where I couldn't avoid it. So now I am just boosting myself, but as soon as I'm done boosting the immune system and healing, I think in November, I'm gonna go into a nice little parasite so I'm gonna check yours out as well. I'm kind of gathering resources for parasites, but, I mean, I think it can not only change your physical health, but like your moods, your emotions. There's so much to parasites. So I'm
There's a
excited.
there's a book called Your Brain on Parasites, and it talks exactly how these parasites, they do control your mind. And it's
Mm,
wild, but
wow.
it's, I mean, the research has been done for years. Like, they definitely control your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's connections that I'm learning parasites to the big C word that I did an episode on a few episodes ago, like the one that's killing people everywhere now.
Yep.
The CANC word,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Connection there. And then I learned possible connections in the brain for MS.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, it's all
so,
connected. I could
so
deep dive with you, Regina. I could literally deep dive with you just on that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I love getting your perspective. So we've got only a few minutes left, and tell us all the things you offer. You're also certified in like so many modalities. I was cruising your website a little bit a few days ago, and I was just like, whoa, you're like energy healer and all these like you do so I don't even know where did you find the time for all this? But anyway, um give us a rundown of everything you offer, and then how do we get in contact with you? And then we'll wrap up the recording and we'll hang for a few minutes in the Facebook group.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, I did a deep dive into holistic medicine, and that's how I gained all my certifications. And I think that comes from being sick myself, right? When you're sick yourself, and I was also working in the system and seeing people sick and seeing people at the end of life sick. And I was like, I can't end up like this, and it's not just me. I wanted to help other people, right? I became a nurse because I wanted to help other people. So I went completely holistic and I researched every single modality that I could, and I, got the certifications in it. So I went to the holistic nursing program and I learned about lots of things, but I learned about auricular therapy there.
What
And
is
so
that?
that's probably a whole nother talk, but in
It is.
in short, that's a traditional Chinese medicine modality.
Mm.
And it works like acupuncture without the needles. So basically, in our ear, we have a whole microsystem of nerve endings that correlate to all the different areas of our body. There's like a
Wow.
whole human body within our ear of nerve endings. So
Mm.
every single point on the ear connects to something in our body. So just by applying the ear seeds, is what we call them, applying the different pressures to the right points, you can cure things like headaches, anxiety, depression, insomnia, back pain. You can lose weight, you can quit smoking, that can cure infertility issues, all
Wow.
kinds of things. And again, all science backed, right? This is a traditional Chinese medicine modality. There's been tons of studies and research on it. So it's not a new modality, but most people don't know about it. So that's why I like to tell people about it because it's pretty cool. Um,
Sounds awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I well versed in essential oils. I went to like the Dr. Josh Axe Institute, for essential oil training. I took a holistic nursing program for coaching. So I do coach people as well. I do lifestyle and health coaching. Um, I learned Reiki, so I can do Reiki. Um, Red light therapy is very, very healing as well. So I did that in my practice. Ionic foot detox, I mean,
Mm.
I don't even know. I do so many things. I used to have a space where I would do crystal light therapy with Reiki and the auricular therapy, red light therapy, and the detox. Something a little on the newer side that I've been getting into is AO scanners. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the
Yeah.
frequencies, but yeah,
Yes. Is that the EE system with the from Jason Shirka's Unified? Have you heard of? I think it's similar,
I think
maybe.
it's the same concept. And I think also like it was tying into a little bit what you were saying about the parasites and I think that the frequencies is a huge, it's a huge and same thing with energy medicine, right? It's all in the same realm of healing. There's sound healing. I do sound healing.
Mm. Wow.
Uh, yeah.
I'm big
So
into sound and frequency.
yeah, yeah, and I think I'm telling you, I think it's huge, and I could tell you stories about how my parasites, part of parasite detoxing was from, tuning forks. So, I have a whole story of
I
what
just got
happened.
a new set of tuning forks I have to play with. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. Amazing. But yeah, so I do all those things. I don't, and like I said, I teach the homeopathy classes. That's my main focus because I just feel like of all the things that I've done, that is the most powerful and the
Mm.
most beneficial thing that I can do for people is to educate them on this and to teach them how to take control of their own health. Um, and so I work with people, I do consultations, I work with people for chronic health issues, I do some acute, I do, adults, children, and pets, farm animals and pets. They could take homeopathy too, which is really cool.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so I have my website at goodnessgrover.com. Um, I also am
Let's
pretty
put that
active
in
on
the chat.
Facebook. Yeah,
Mhm.
pretty active on Facebook and I'm a little bit on Instagram. I'm not technology savvy at all, but I try to be because we got to get our message out there and we got to connect with people. So that's what I'm doing. So the best way to reach me would be on my website. My email is my name. It's Nicole Pavlik, RN at goodnessgrover.com. And Facebook, you can follow me on Facebook.
Awesome. And then we have a coupon code. What was it? Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
You had sent it to me for viewers. I'm gonna start asking for coupon codes to get you guys discounts to help you. We're building a hub of sovereign solutions. That's my goal. The biggest, best hub of sovereign solutions. And you have so much stuff. It's insane.
Love it.
But
I
the
love
coupon code, I'm gonna drop it in the Facebook chat and I'll put it up on YouTube, is SAV AF 10 off. And now does it matter if it's all caps or no?
I would put it in as all caps just in I think it's pretty like temperamental. So I would put it in as
Just
all
in
caps.
case.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if your viewers use that coupon code, they're gonna get $10 off any products. So the kits that I talked about tonight are on my website, so you can purchase those. I have other products. Um,
Mm.
I don't have all my products up. I make organic herbal teas, and I have other things that I do sell. A lot of my auricular therapy, I sell kits for auricular therapy that you can do at home. Um, a lot of that isn't all up there. So if there's anything you ever see on Facebook and you don't see it on my website, you can always reach out to me and ask about it, and I'll help you get it. But for the products that are on the website, if you use that coupon code, you'll get $10 off for that. And
Perfect.
if anyone wants to take a class, I can make you a separate coupon code for the classes too. So they can get $10 off the classes as well if they're
Yeah,
in.
that would be awesome. We'll have
Yeah.
to drop it in the chat for sure. Someone said we have to have her back. Another
Oh,
person said, thank you for your time. Yes. Let's wrap up for the recording part, Nicole, because I want to respect your time and with your 7 kids. I gotta respect your time. And I know that you and I can hang like just all night because I love chatting with you. And when I have my healing center someday, I'm literally gonna entice you to come live on my land and be my homeopath. I'm serious, but
I would totally
um,
come. Totally come.
what do you want to leave them with? What is your parting message?
I think the biggest thing, and we touched on it before, I think the biggest thing is don't fear, right? These are
Mm.
crazy times. Don't fear. It's so easy to get caught up in the fear. And, I love what you're doing for people, that you're providing people solutions, because that's the way we don't fear, is just to educate people, provide them solutions, do your research, pick what works for you, throw out what doesn't work for you, but just, empower yourselves with the education so that you're not stuck when an emergency comes. And that's it.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being here. Episode 9. Thank you, all the viewers. Facebook group, don't go anywhere. We're going to hang out for a few minutes. Everyone else watching on YouTube and Rumble and everywhere else, thank you so much for your support. And thanks again, Nicole.
Thank you.